Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. I'm Dean Gemmel, and in this edition, we talked to Jeff Stoughton just a couple of days after his new team's runner-up finish at the Asham 8-Ender Open. Straight out of friendly Manitoba, Jeff Stoughton, welcome to The Curling Show.
Great to be here. Thanks, Dean.
Hey, let's start with the Asham 8-Ender Open over this past Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. Your first event with your new lineup, Ryan Fry at third, Rob Fowler at second, and Steve Gould back at lead. You guys did lose in the final, but it was a very close final, and you were playing arguably the hottest team on tour right now, Kerry Burtnick. Is it fair to say that you're happier about a second-place finish than you typically are?
Yeah, I'd say we're pretty happy. I mean, good start for the year for us to get to the final, and like you said, you're playing one of the hottest teams out there, and wound up coming home without last rock, and they got the deuce on us. And what can you say? A few misses here and there, or I should say, a few less misses here and there, and we would have been good.
Are you at all surprised by how well Kerry's team has started?
Well, yes and no. I mean, they're all proven players to me. They were anyway. So with Kerry throwing the last one, we mentioned to him when he was contemplating his retirement. We're sitting with him over drinks after the Canada Cup, and said that we didn't think he was throwing it any better, meaning just, he looked like he was playing the best he had in quite a while, and the year off certainly didn't hurt him. So, we expect them to roll on throughout the whole year.
Yeah, I always felt that you and John Mead were the model for tuck deliveries, and he had just about identical releases. Now, Ryan throws tuck, but he also has a delivery that looks a bit more like his dad's, a Snake Jr. there. Is his release still pretty similar to yours?
It's getting close. I mean, it's something we're going to work on over the next few weeks. We don't play till the end of the month in Portage, so we've got a couple of weeks just to sort of get it very close to the way I release the rock. But yeah.
So you're not going to try to throw like the Snake?
No, I don't think I'll switch it up at this time. He's young. He can adapt.
All right. Hey, your former team was sort of known as a collection of, polished professional veterans. How long do you think it's going to take to get us comfortable with this new lineup?
I don't think too long. I mean, we're pretty comfortable right now. We all have sort of the same goals and drive. They want to be the best, and we've been lucky enough to be up there right along the top teams with Steve and I. So we sort of want to bring them up to that level and get them used to playing at the top level of your game. I think it's just something that takes a little while to get used to for them, is that our expectations aren't to do well. Our expectations are to win. And, so it's sort of a mindset, and talking with them and playing with them so far and practicing shouldn't take too long to get them into that stream and, hopefully bring their game up where we're competing for titles every weekend.
You have talked about how adding two young guys has rejuvenated you just a bit. With the way last season went, you got so close to the Olympics, then you won the BDO Canadian Open in Winnipeg, then you got back to the Brier for the first time in a while, and then you ended up having a pretty wild week in Regina. Were you feeling pretty spent by the spring?
Oh, no doubt. I think all four of us were spent by the Brier.
By the Brier in particular?
Oh, yeah. By
that time?
By that time, we were pretty spent. I mean, we had even gone to St. John's in between the Brier and our provincial championship. So we were pretty well done, and we had scheduled our year to obviously play in the Olympics at the end of February, and hadn't thought about much more after that. And so we sort of transferred the Olympics to our provincials and to the BDO, and we ended up winning those. And I think we were just done for the year in a sense that motivation and drive were pretty well gone by the time we got to the Brier, and we were sort of running on fumes. And it's a poor excuse, but it was a lot of work and a lot of effort that our team put in to be where we were for the trials, which was right where we wanted to be, and then to continue on through a few more events after that. It was took a lot out of the team, and that's about it. That's all I can say.
I've talked to John Mead in the past about your team's trials experience, but obviously never discussed it with you. So
right.
I think curling fans, John always hogged this show for you. Every time I'd have John on, I didn't think I could go back to you right away.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So he's been on 3 times as a record. But anyways, I think curling fans will always remember your statement that Gushue had no chance. Looking back, do you ever wish you'd said nothing at all?
Well, I think everyone can look back and wish they would have done things differently. I mean, it wasn't a big issue in a sense that the person who did the interview didn't even make it as a headline or anything. He was just sort of wanted me to handicap the field, and we were going through every single team, and that was his only comment in there. And I mean, I pretty well said the same thing about Jay Peachy, and nothing came out of that, obviously, just because they didn't do as well. So
Right,
I mean,
I
sure.
thought it was refreshingly honest. So,
well, I mean, I've had a lot of people say, they were thinking it but wouldn't say it, and I guess I just, put my foot in the mouth and actually, or didn't put my foot in the mouth and actually said it. So, if it was motivation enough for them to win, I mean, good on them. But I honestly don't think that would have helped them in any way, in a sense, other than, I mean, put it this way, every team there, all 10 teams, wanted to be the winner. And if it helped them, then, I mean, maybe we'll find out. I don't know. I think there's a couple books coming out, so maybe in there they'll shed some light on it. But, I mean, to motivate yourself for that, if it helped, great. But I feel every team was motivated enough to win that, just like our team was.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Russ Howard said they did talk about it, actually. But, I think those guys themselves are accomplished enough that I don't know if it would have made a big difference one way or another.
Yeah, and, I honestly don't think so. I mean, we played them in the round-robin game, and we had a massage therapist that was with us. So I know that Mike, their fifth man, they had a little side bet going with our fifth man. Basically, if they won that round-robin game, that he was allowed to get a massage from our therapist and that. So I mean, there was a lot of going-ons back and forth and some fun between the teams. And there, certainly, in my point of view, anyway, there wasn't any animosity or looking down upon the comment in any way. So, we still were joking about things that we had done on and off the ice. So even the orange outfits, they talked about how come we didn't get them, because that was sort of our color for the year.
Trials aside, last year about this time I had John Morris on the show, and I was talking about his sort of fiery nature, and I said to him, you'll never be compared to a calm, collected guy like Jeff Stoughton. So then there were the quotes at the trials, and then you had your run-ins with the officials at the Tim Hortons Briar in Regina. What the heck was going on last season?
Well, if you're from Winnipeg, you certainly, I've certainly been known to speak my mind. I mean, there's been lots of things from, I've been quoted as saying I'd rather be playing for cash than for the badges, and this was quite a few years ago. And
right.
Another time I was saying that only the top four teams top four seeded teams in our provincial should win, forgetting the fact that the fifth seeded team was the only rural team, so they felt like the rural teams were snubbed by myself and all these other things. So they've always been sort of in the press in Winnipeg anyway, in a sense, so nothing unusual there. And the Briar was, in my eyes, was completely blown out of proportion, in the sense that, like I said, we were all shocked when the things went down. And I did bang my broom once on the ice, but a lot of other guys were banging their brooms out there and kicking rocks in corners, etc.
I know most of the other competitors were surprised when they heard there were fines.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were told at the beginning of the week that they were looking at assessing fines, and I guess when I got the little letter and they decided they would outline things that I'd done throughout the week, and things were accumulating, apparently, unbeknownst to us, it was a bit of a surprise.
But then the fine's been rescinded, right?
Yeah, it's all been changed. I mean, I just sent the CCA an apology letter for my conduct with the official, which I think was adequate, in a sense that I should not have conducted myself that way, and hopefully he accepted that letter of apology for my attitude on the ice with him. And I think they're working with the World Curling Tour, the Players Association, to come up with a better policy of, if they are going to fine.
They might need a policy in the first place.
Yeah, they need something a little more concrete that could actually hold up. I mean, they didn't even follow their policies that if someone was going to be fined, that they would be consulted with first, and there would be a arbitration go on beforehand. And unbeknownst to me, I read in the next day's newspaper that I'd been fined, so I didn't even know that they'd gone to the press, because it certainly wasn't me going there. So they sort of didn't follow their guidelines and stuff like that. So it's just something that needs to be ironed out a little bit better. And to be honest, I mean, I have no problem with anyone showing their emotions on their sleeve, in a sense. I mean, John Morris has done it, if you want to talk about one guy. There's lots of other front-end guys that are banging brooms and kicking rocks in the corner, and I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with my teammates doing it, and I don't think they have any problem with me doing it, in a sense that usually it's one bang and you're done, and that's really all that it was in that one game where the official came out and said to stop it, and all I said to him was, stop what, because nothing else was going on. So as long as a player doesn't go on for 5 minutes ranting and raving and yelling or banging brooms or smashing scoreboards or something, I don't have a problem with guys kicking a rock or slamming the broom.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually usually an advantage, I think, for the team that's not kicking rocks, because it feels like the other team's giving away a bit.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, and totally. I mean, we were basically gone and out of that game, things were going on a slide for us. The frustration level was there, and James was, he didn't mind it at all. Actually, like you said, I walked down, he made a great shot. I told him he made a great shot, and nothing much more we can do.
Yeah, were you surprised when John Meade decided not to return, or did you have a sense during last season, or did you guys talk about that he probably wouldn't be back?
No, I wasn't surprised. I knew, it's always been in the back of his mind. I mean, like I said, he had committed, like all of us, 110% to get to those Olympic Games, and I think the way he loves to play the game is he wants to give 110% all the time, and he just knew that this year he wouldn't be able to do that, and he just felt he would be hurting the team more than helping the team, and that his whole focus wouldn't have been on playing like it was last year. So no, I sort of knew it was coming. It wasn't a big shock, wasn't a big surprise to me. I'll miss him in a sense as a good player and friend, and just don't see him as much during the wintertime.
Hey, we've already touched a little bit about you on the ice, but when you play, it never looks, and I think for good reason, of course, because you've just been one of the greatest shot makers in the last 15 years, but it never looks like you lack confidence out there. Some, however, do perceive it as arrogance. Do you think that's unfair?
Yeah, I think it's unfair. I mean, any top player is going to be confident to almost an arrogance level, and as long as you don't speak it in the sense that hey, I'm going to kick your butt, or I'm going to demolish this guy, or whatever it happens to be. Being confident, I think, is the way most teams are and most players are. I mean, people just show it differently in a sense that I'm fairly stoic out there, and when the cameras are off in between ends, we're talking with the team or talking with the cameraman or whatever it happens to be, and it's a little more relaxed. But when the game's on, I mean, there's a lot of things going on and through your mind, and you're thinking ahead and trying to plan out what's going on. And I mean, if it looks like I'm cocky, then take it as it is. I mean, I feel very confident out there when things are going well, and I think that's how any top player would feel.
I never quite understand, to be honest, some of the standards that curling fans seem to hold curlers to. I mean, nobody really talks about Tiger Woods being arrogant. I mean, he certainly has a look out there that is meant to put a little bit of fear in other players. But
and they don't talk about him when he slams his golf club into the ground either, do they?
Right, not so much. I mean, they have a little bit, but not very much.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is with curling fans, but somehow we all expect everybody to carry on like it's the 1950s or something. But hopefully that's changing.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, too, is that you get right inside the player's head in a sense that, we are mic'd up. There's not a lot of sports out there where you can put mics on the players, so you got to give them a lot of credit for not being bleeped out all the time. I mean, a few F-sharps get thrown in there once in a while, but pretty good on the players, especially the young ones up and coming, that, we're able to be mic'd. We know we're live, and, sometimes you're holding it in a sense, but I think that shows a lot of class for a lot of the players, at least, is that they're not going off on a tangent, and they are mic'd, and you might hear some comments that may not sound right between players, and I think it's very interesting. I mean, skips are very demanding. I mean, we expect the best from our players, and when someone misses, it's like a shock, and so it's almost like, well, what the heck were you doing? And I think, people might get that from Randy Ferbey when he talks to some of his players. They might get it from other people out there talking, and I think that's just the best way to look at it. It's a great thing for the sport that the viewers can get so up close and personal to, number one, the players, and number two, how the game is played and what they're thinking and what they're thinking ahead and why they're not playing a shot. It's not like you can get into an NFL football huddle and figure out what they're doing for that 2-minute drill.
No, I think it's a great part of curling and something that maybe we need to promote a little bit more when it comes to selling the sport to broadcasters. It's interesting, too, you talk about the quality of curlers. I mean, if I was mic'd up all day during a work day, I think about half of it would have to be bleeped out. But
yeah.
So the fact that there isn't more bleeped out is pretty amazing, actually. Hey, we finished these with a run back, Jeff. I give you a topic, and you give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words, give or take. The decision to seed every team in your provincial championship, the Safeway Select.
It will be a good one.
Third stone, John Morris.
He's going to be one of the best.
Arnold Asham.
Oh, couldn't ask for a better man, or Entrepreneur of the Year here in Manitoba for 2006, so he's doing things right.
Buffalo Burgers.
I don't know if I've ever had one.
Never had one. You wear the buffalo in the back, never had one. You've probably never even seen a buffalo.
Oh, no, we've got buffalo right here. I drive by buffalo every single day.
You actually do? Okay.
I do.
Pat McCallum.
Pat McCallum, Patty. Feisty character.
He's like the online mouth of Manitoba, that guy.
Yeah, he's pretty funny. He certainly has his own opinion on things.
Those bent steel Brushmaster brushes your team used back in the early 90s.
I can't believe you remember that. Yeah,
you know what? I have one in my basement.
We had them at the Briar in '91, and
that's where I saw you play with them, actually.
Yeah, they were pretty good, and they just went the way of the dinosaur, I guess.
Have you picked one up lately?
No.
They weigh about 50 pounds.
Oh, they do weigh. Well, I guess that's, put a graphite shaft in there and away you go.
Right. And finally, Steve Gould's tan.
Steve Gould's tan. He looks pretty good in orange.
Hey, I didn't say it was orange. He's a promotion for his tanning place anyways all the time. I'm like, how many guys from Brandon look like that in January?
Yeah, no, he, Fabutan's his business, and you got to have a tan if you're in the tanning business.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate you having on the show. I know you get in trouble sometimes for being quotable, but the last thing we need in curling is more dry white bread. So keep it up. Good to have you on the show, and good luck this season.
Thanks, Dean. Appreciate it.
That's Jeff Stoughton on The Curling Show. I'll leave with 5 thoughts. Attend a World Curling Tour event in your area. Buy the Black Book of Curling. Subscribe to the Curling News. Upgrade your curling equipment this season. And advertise on this show. Thanks for listening. Here's the band that's air guitar ready, Toronto's Black Pudding. Ooh.